I just wanted to address something. A lot of people had questions about my dad's passing, and they were just asking, how did Dr. Ingram die? It's just something that has been a little bit difficult to talk about. But I can tell you that there were a lot of rumors and outright lies, actually, that were kind of going around that Dr. Ingram died of a tooth infection, and that is not correct. We don't have all the answers, but I'll tell you kind of from our perspective, because I personally arranged the funeral for my father, and I had reviewed his autopsy. But like I mentioned before, there was some distance throughout our life between my father and his children. And so we had moments of interaction throughout our lives during our childhood where we would meet up. But there was tension, and there was something really harmful that was splitting up the family, something really sinister that was done to split up the family, create a wedge between my father and his children. And this is something that we dealt with our entire life, and I learned about a little bit later in life, but I'm not really ready to talk about it in a lot of detail. In any case, my father, he was really unwell for the last year and a half or so of his life. And I actually was not aware of it for a good portion of it. My aunt had visited him and had informed me of his condition, which he was very weak. He had lost a lot of weight. He was struggling to kind of get around. So she had gone and tried to intervene and try to help him as much as she could. She told me that I needed to reach out to him and go and see him because of his condition. He was in such a severe condition. And that was the first I had heard about it. And so that actually prompted me to, I spoke to somebody about it that I trusted. And he also advised me it was during COVID time, to make every effort to get over there and see him. And so they knew that that was the right thing to do, that it was important to see my father, to do everything I could do to intervene, to try to help him as much as possible, try to get him to safety. And despite some of the challenges that I knew I was going to encounter. And so it was during COVID time, but I was able to cross the border because I was living in Canada to go see him in Illinois. I explained to the authorities that my father was very sick. And so I went and made the journey out there. I couldn't get a hold of him. So I just decided to wait at one place that he was staying, at his home. And then unfortunately there was an altercation. I had gone there to try to provide some suggestions for his care. And I had a plan in mind. But unfortunately, there was just rejection, outright rejection of that. And I knew it wasn't really coming from him. But in any case, so that was very hard on me. But it was also just difficult to know that there was nothing I could really do about his situation. I talked to him later that same day after that occurred to try to resolve things. But ultimately, he felt like he was optimistic that he would be able to overcome the issue that he was facing and get back on his feet. And so I just thought I'll just keep in touch with him by phone during COVID time. I called him probably 2 or 3 weeks before he passed away. I called him again in late February, just to check up on him and see how he is doing. And again, he sounded optimistic. He was still not well, but he sounded optimistic that he was going to recover. Then we got the news a couple of weeks later that he had passed away. God bless his soul. And it was a shock, really, because we're like, wondering how that could have happened, really. But kind of the news came to us in in a direct way through one of his therapists who had informed my aunt, who had informed me, and I was the next of kin. So I immediately arranged for his burial in his hometown of Cedar Rapids with his family, for him to have a proper burial. And then we realized that we didn't know the specifics of it, but he had an autopsy done, and the cause of death was drowning. Okay, so he had drowned in the bathtub. And again, we still have a lot of unanswered questions about that. I'm not trying to create a lot of drama behind it, but I'm just explaining this because it's wrong to say that he died from a different means, which is not true. So that was his cause of death. It was an accident, I suppose, in the home. And so that was what happened, really. I don't have many more answers other than that. But I can say that Purely Wild wasn't really in good shape at that time, and there wasn't really a long-standing family transition plan or anything like that. None of us were really ready to take on Purely Wild, but we saw the importance of it, so we did our best, and everybody was pitching in at first, but didn't really have consistent leadership or a face of the company like my dad was a face of the company, nor did they have somebody of his knowledge behind it. So that was what was really lacking. But over time, I think we realized the importance of the work, and we started to hear from our customers about how his work has helped them improve the quality of their life. And that's really important. That's really important to me. Yeah. So now things have really changed. I know it's been 4 years since he has passed. There's been a lot of ups and downs with the company, but we're in a new phase right now. We're in a phase of figuring out how best to present his knowledge to you all and how best to get it to people who have the ability to act on it and the capacity of a practitioner. How can you really, because he was so unique in terms of the depth of his knowledge, and he left so much of his work behind in these books and his videos. We're finding ways to make sure that we make that accessible to the people that could use that to improve the quality of life of people. That's one of the big things at Purely Wild. Yes, we sell supplements and we sell his formulations, and that's a big part of it, and our customers are benefiting a lot from it. But really, the knowledge, we want his knowledge to get out there to the professionals that know how to use it. And so there will be more to come on that. And this is really just, even though there are many people out there that wanted this to be the end of Purely Wild, my message to them is it's really just the beginning. You're going to see what Purely Wild is going to become by the permission of God.